So Euclid's Element is one of the oldest mathematical texts that we have. It's not the oldest, but it's pretty much one of the oldest. It's one of the oldest axiomatic deductive texts, and that's basically how mathematics works. You have a set of axioms or assumptions that you can't necessarily prove, but you just say, I'm assuming that A equals B, therefore B equals A, or various sort of mathematical. And from those, I can deduce particular things. That is a methodology that is basically the foundation of mathematics. And so Euclid is significant in the sense that it is the oldest text that lays that out in a very detailed way. Western world used Elements for 2,000 years. So basically it was the textbook for all of that time. The first typeset was in Venice, and apparently we have a copy of that from 1482. Right. So it was one of the first books that was typeset, and we believe it's second only to the Bible in terms of the number of editions that came out. Well, what's underneath that is this mathematical foundation. If you can't quantify it, mathematize it, reduce it to some kind of formula, does it fit the description of what would be science? Well, okay, we can be agnostic on that question, but what we can say is it's indicative that mathematics is important. And so a foundational mathematics text clearly would have been read by a variety of people. So if you're a physicist or a chemist or whatever doing your own research, you might not read other texts from other disciplines, but you would definitely read Euclid's geometry, because you're going to need to be able to use those techniques in your research. So even though we don't pick up a copy of Elements, like when you take your Math 101, we don't force you to read Euclid, its influence is still around because it was the foundational text, and it is axiomatic deduction that uses proofs. So the basic techniques that he uses are the ones that we use today. What was the significance of Elements when it came out? Like many ancient texts, Euclid didn't just sit down one day and write the whole book. So it's not like geometry and mathematics didn't exist until this guy was touched by the hand of God or whatever, right? He worked in the same way that people who write textbooks today work. What Euclid did is he pulled mathematics text parts and pieces from different ancient Greek and Roman authors, and the particular people are kind of irrelevant to the point, that he pulled everything together. He complemented them one to another. He replaced some of the proofs that people had used were bad, wrong, or not as elegant, to go back to something I said earlier. So he replaced some of his proof. So his contribution was the rigor in which his geometric proofs, he essentially does a really good job of proving things. Not that he had invented that particular concept. So if the question was, what was the impact when it was written, it was in the sense that it pulled everything together in a way that, if he, you can do that, and if he had been a bad writer, then we wouldn't be talking about him. So he also clearly was able to write in a succinct way, a rigorous way, a way that pulled those people together. It's not so much that he was a better writer than some of his predecessors. I mean, he might have been, but he pulled everything together. So it was the first book that had all of those pieces. I wouldn't be an historian if I didn't think old things were cool. Right. So it's on one level, I kind of want to just see it and touch it. I mean, it's kind of a human thing, When people go to a battlefield. Why would you go to the battlefield? Well, you kind of want to and maybe not everybody, but I know my dad wanted to do that. You want to see these things, or you go to a museum with stuff. I mean, they have to put ropes up or glass because people want to do that. As an educator, I think it would be pretty cool to take some students in and go, look, here's a 520, 30-year-old book. Isn't that kind of neat? I mean, you kind of want that visceral impact that just a dry discussion with a PowerPoint of, this is what we think you could look like, and I can talk I can answer these questions all the live long day. But we are human beings with, multiple senses, and there's something about kind of seeing this old
Yeah.
I guess hopefully it's not too dusty, but
It's not,
conceptually this old sort of thing, and to picture that for many people this was how they learned, about math.